Hello and welcome to the first episode of Polysaturated, your polyamory podcast where we are keeping it real here. I am one of your hosts. I am Zan. I'm here with
Crow
and
Jay.
And today's topic we are going to discuss, does polyamory work? And we have a little bit of experience with this. We have been in the poly lifestyle for roughly 13, 14 years, Jay and I, and Crow has been in for a little bit longer than us.
19, 20-ish.
Yeah, 20-ish years.
Actually, if you go back, we've been in at 18 because of my first crush and attempt.
Yeah, that is very true.
Mm.
Very true.
When he was very little.
Yeah.
So that's all it was a crush at the time, though.
I mean, we talked about starting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, we did start about talking about dating somebody back in 18 years ago, but we never really took action on it though.
Well, me, because I was bi.
Right.
And just realizing I was bi.
Yeah, you refused to admit that you
or
were
just
bi.
admitting I was bi.
Yeah, so just to bring the audience into our, I guess, orientation. I'm Zan. I am straight. We have Jay. She is bi, and Crow is also bi.
That's one of the ironies that I face in my life and in this lifestyle is I can actually say the sentence, "My husband is straight."
That is true. That is true.
And it's just odd.
Yeah,
it works. I mean, it's still true. And people who are poly and have been poly for a long time, actually, it makes perfect sense, and they can hear that and go with it. Other people go, "What?"
Right, and that's the interesting part is that whenever you hear that there's two husbands involved in a poly triad, that the husbands are together, and in our case, it's not the case. Crow and I are not together. Jay and I are.
You're still my husband.
But Crow and Jay are also together. We started our relationship over 2 years ago, just over a year ago in 2018. We moved in with Crow and his then wife at a time. So our main topic for today is, does polyamory work? And we have been in the poly community for a while, like I had said before, and we have seen great things in polyamory. We have also seen really bad things in polyamory. And whenever you're first getting started off in polyamory, this is it gets kind of interesting, because if you are not familiar with the the lifestyle, the ins, the outs, and everything else, and it's kind of hard to first off have a discussion with your spouse.
Jay said something to one of our friends a while back, and I think it really summed it up. When I asked, does polyamory even work? And it was asked in a very disparaging way, which typically when you hear that question a lot of time, it's meant to be somewhat challenging. It's meant to be disparaging, and people can dress it up all they want. Oh, I'm just asking. Oh, I'm just curious. But how does this work?
Well, you face those types of remarks from everybody in your life, no matter how supportive they are, because they've been programmed to think that way. And so you relay that you're having any sort of issue to them, and they want to ask the question, does polyamory work? Well, I posed the question, I don't know, does monogamy work? Because statistically speaking, monogamy does not work, and it's been proven as such. More than, like 75% of people who get married end up divorced.
Yeah, I'm not
Something
really sure
like
what
that.
the stats are.
It's a huge statistic, so it's one of those things. It's all in the people and how they work together, and if they're headed in the same direction, that defines whether they're going to work or not.
And it's a very one-sided thing. Like when two people are supposed to be monogamous, they're in a monogamous relationship and they're having issues. People say, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Have you tried talking to them? Have you tried therapy? Have you tried... They're very, very helpful. They come up with all sorts of suggestions. And, oh, my husband and I went through the same thing. Oh, my wife and I did the same thing. And you know what happened? We did this, and it all came out right. Mm-hmm. And everything is going to be fine for you. You'll work through this, and they're very encouraging. But if you're in a poly situation, even around quote-unquote supportive friends, the first thing they ask is it over?
Yeah,
or
that's-
is it time to break it off, or you should leave.
and that is very true. Even in the poly community, whenever you have somebody that's a triad or quad or however type of poly situation you have, you will get that too. It's like, it's not working out for you, then you probably should jump ship. And that's not the case. Polyamory is multiple love, and it's not just about jumping from one relationship to another. It's not like being a serial monogamous or even a serial poly. Most people want to do it because they love more. They have more connections, emotional connections to people in general.
I think everybody has their different reasons for getting into polyamory, or what it means to them, or what it brings to their lives. But in general, yeah, it means more than one love. And to say that our friends haven't been supportive is very untrue. Our friends are supportive. Sometimes it's just harder to understand a situation that you've never been in, so they come to you trying to be helpful, and they do it in the best ways that they know how. And you just have to, I think one word you're going to hear us say probably 8 million times is communication. You have to also communicate with your friends your needs, if they really truly care, as far as advice or things with them in regards to how they can best help you or be there for you, especially if it's a situation that they're not familiar with and they're coming from the monogamous standpoint.
Yeah. One thing that, some of the things that polyamory benefits is that when you have multiple people in a relationship, you have more people to go to when you have issues, or when you have but that could be a double-edged sword too. Having more people in the situation is not always the best thing.
Can you believe he's doing this again?
Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of how it works. I was like, again? I mean, come on, Yeah.
By the same token, even if you have that sort of triangulation thing that can happen, you have shared sympathy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes from, I can't believe my husband's doing this again, to looking at somebody else, giving them that knowing expression and saying, well, that's our husband.
Yeah.
And suddenly it turns into a point of humor and a point of a shared moment, and even something that's vaguely endearing instead of something that would have stuck in the back of your mind like a splinter and stayed there festering until you finally vented to somebody at work about your monogamous partner, and then it just builds on itself because you never end up going to that person.
Right. Yeah, and then that's highly, highly important in a polyamorous relationship. Again, going back to communication, is that you have to talk. Whenever you have multiple people in a relationship, some people say it's difficult to have a monogamous relationship. Yeah, add more people to that, and that's kind of how it can happen. But man, the benefits of being in a polyamorous relationship, when it comes to supporting of other people and being there for others and helping others and loving others. And then when you start blending in families and children and everything else, it's just, there's a lot of benefits to it.
A lot of shared responsibility, a lot of, it just depends on your dynamic, really. Financially, it can work out beneficially if you work together in combined finances and households. I mean, people who are not even, they're just strictly platonic, they get together and they share households now. When we were speaking with a realtor, I asked about the legality of us being all able to be on the loan, and they said absolutely. People have been combining households and homesteads for quite some time because of the economy or whatnot. And if you can make it work, it's just smarter. The more income you have, the better life you can live, I guess, financially.
Now, in our situation, we've done something we're finding out is rare, at least in our area. And I'd like to reach out to any listeners to send us a message if they're doing something similar to us, as if we've truly combined households.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've reached out to different Facebook groups and different places, asking specifically to, pick people's brains if they had anything similar to what we had. And what we came to find out, what I found, was that they would have a very similar structure, but they would all live separately. And I guess thereby have their own bank accounts and their own, households, kind of like you see on Sister Wives, I guess, where, they each have their own home and their kids are in there, and then they get together, I don't know, for Sunday brunch or something. I don't know how it works, but
I've never actually seen that show. Does he just flit around amongst the houses
does.
like a
Pretty
social
much.
butterfly?
Yeah, he kind of, every wife has their own home, and he kind of takes turns going to each one and spending time there. And then I think they get together for dinner. I think it's different. Maybe I'm confusing a couple different shows, but I know they get together for dinner at different times, and the wives get together and cook, and they have sort of like a communal thing every once in a while. But anyway, I have not found at all anyone who has done what we've done.
Yeah, so let's give the audience a bit of a rundown as to what we did, what we have, and how things work for us. So Jay and I moved to the area. It was just Jay, I, and our daughter. And what we did was, when we moved to the area, we started getting into the communities. We started, getting into the poly community and whatnot. And we met this couple, and we started dating. We were dating for over a year whenever we decided to move in together. And when we moved in together, we found it was easier to, combine everything. It came to combining, finances, and it came to like checking accounts. We combined that. We task and everything else we brought in, and our bedroom is literally a half a bed. We have 2 beds going straight across. At the time we were a quad, so we needed room in the bed, and you don't want people falling off and breaking something for whatever reason.
I still get pushed off.
Oh yeah.
There's walls on both sides, and I still
Or
get pushed.
some of us take up the entire bed, and then we have to go to the other side of the bed.
How dare you, Crow?
Jay and I came home this morning from an errand, and we found Zan sleeping sideways across the king-size bed.
Well,
he was in an L shape, like literally could not possibly take up more room. Because if he had been straight across, we could have just gone on each side of him or something like that, or lined up beside him. But no, he was in a literal L shape.
Well, I probably could have. I could have, played it out and laid out like a starfish, and I would have been taking up more room. But I had the whole king size bed to myself this morning. I just happened to
Which
end up in
never
that position.
happens.
Yeah,
That's
never.
a
Taking
rare
full advantage of.
That's a rare treasure to just get all of the bed.
Yeah, I didn't. It was completely unintentional advantage, but I took advantage of it apparently.
So we have a king size and a queen butted up against each other, side by side, and it takes up from wall to wall.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's quite cozy and comfy.
I've been asked a bunch, like, why do this? Why do we do it? And that's always been asked at kind of weird moments. I find that I get asked the most when there's an issue that I've just shared with somebody. So why do you even do this? Or when something kind of strange happens. Like, I am being taken out for my birthday. This is years and years ago. And my partner showed up with me. And then her boyfriend showed up to help celebrate my birthday. And then a bunch of our other friends showed up, and she left with him.
Mm-hmm.
And the friends that were left over looked at the situation, and in the awkward silence were like, why is this okay? And I found it very difficult at the time to explain conversion, to explain being happy for the other person, to explain that everything's okay as long as your needs are being met. As long as everybody's needs